Working for you. A weekly talk radio program which highlights developments of national interest and the activities of your St. Kitts Nevis government. Join host Roy Williams as he presents news, views, reports, and interviews about everything regarding the activities of the Team Unity government and the building of our communities and the development of St. Kitts Nevis. Tune in and call in to interact with your government and share your views regarding the upward forward development of your community and our beautiful Twin Island Federation. Working for You is weekly, every Wednesday live from 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. on ZIZ Radio, Win FM, and Sugar City FM with rebroadcast on participating stations. Working for You.
A pleasant good afternoon, and I welcome you to Working for You. I am Roy Williams. Thank you very much for tuning in to today's program. We appreciate your company very much. Today we are going to be discussing a very important topic, that of agriculture. We know that agriculture plays a vital role in our development, especially in terms of food security and our nutrition, of course, which we cannot underscore enough. Today I have with me the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Mr. Alistair Edwards, or Al Edwards, as you would know him. And this week also, the Department of Cooperatives, in collaboration with the local cooperative movement and the allied agencies, is celebrating Co-op Week. So we are going to talk about that as well. Mr. Edwards, welcome to this program.
Thank you very much, Mr. Williams.
Great.
And good afternoon to all those persons in Radio Land.
Okay, now this week, the Department of Cooperatives, as I mentioned, in collaboration with the local cooperative movement, which we really don't hear much about. We don't hear much about that movement. And allied agencies is celebrating Cooperative Week. What is the celebration about?
Well, it is the second year now. I think it's the second year now that we have organized what we call Co-op Week, with a general aim to focus on the activities of our cooperatives on St. Kitts and probably to a lesser extent Nevis. It's mainly to give recognition to the work that these cooperatives are doing. As you mentioned, it's the Ministry of Agriculture, but tacked onto that a number of other departments. It's normally A for Agriculture, MR for Marine Resources, C for Cooperatives, yes, E for Environment, certainly, and most recently we have Human Settlement, and to a lesser extent the National Health Insurance is also one from that ministry. So you're starting out on one of the what we consider the smaller departments that sometimes tend to get dwarfed with the bigger departments, but nevertheless they're in the limelight now. They're having a week of activities. On Sunday they went to church, the People's Evangelistic Center out there at Neesmus. They had talks in schools. I understand it was rather interesting, with the students responding sometimes with some very surprising answers. We also had an award ceremony last night. I noticed that your guys were there to make sure that you covered the minister. Very good job. Upcoming, I want to invite persons to a co-op fair in the square. That's on Friday. That's supposed to be the marquee event where you can see a lot of the efforts from the various cooperatives coming to the fore, and they're coming live and lively before you. So it's something that you should not miss. I also understand that they also came on radio. I think it was ZIZ Radio, and promoted some of the activities. And then finally, I think we're going to close with a message from the minister in relation to international cooperatives and the on the weekend.
Okay. Now, what are some of the objectives or benefits of joining a cooperative?
I have always pushed, Leslie, the idea of persons coming together for one purpose with a common need. I've always said, and I've felt it since I've taken the position as Permanent Secretary, that it's almost impossible to satisfy the individual needs. It's much better to work with groups of persons. Not only that, we recognize too that the international agencies, they give assistance that government is not able to give, not to individuals, but to cooperatives. As long as you are properly structured cooperatives, you can get help and will get help. And they know this. A number of the farmers know this.
Right.
The St. Kitts Farmers Cooperative, I can say safely that they benefited from equipment to the tune of some possibly $25,000 a chill that they are currently using today, I trust. Just is up and running. The St. Kitts cooperatives, agro-process cooperatives some years ago, all of them, every single one that registered as a cooperative member got training in Trinidad.
Yes.
They didn't pay for the training. They didn't pay for the trip to Trinidad. They didn't pay for the accommodation. Fully expense paid. Training in the area, in agro-processing. Not a cent out of their pocket.
Right.
As a government, I don't think we could afford to send, 15, 16 people down to Trinidad. That came out of the fact that they were a cooperative, they are an established body, they have a president, they have the rules, the regulations, etc., and they were recognized by these funding agencies as having a need. And they met that need in the area of agro-processing.
So these cooperatives have to submit annual reports.
Of course.
And their accounts and so on.
Yes, of course.
So there's really no secrecy.
No secrecy. No secrecy whatsoever. You're supposed to be straight up in terms of your books, and that is what the Department of Cooperatives is there for, to help and to guide you in keeping your books and making sure that you answer all the questions in relation to cooperatives and cooperatives.
Right. But maybe some people don't want that. They don't want people in their business to know how much money they're making and to give a financial account and all of that.
Yeah, that is the problem. We are so fiercely independent. And I say fiercely independent. We do not want to depend on anybody or to lean on anybody or to share on anybody. And it's rather unfortunate that we are cultured that way. Because individually, it's almost impossible to make it on an international market.
Right. Now, what are some of the cooperatives in the Federation? I noticed last night there were. I didn't even know that you had this cooperative societies within the Federation.
Oh yes.
Last night I learned about some of them.
Wonderful. So maybe I should try about the question that you asked what you learned.
No. Well, there was one there that was very outstanding. Of course, the Gideon Agricultural Cooperative Society.
Right. They won the award. They won the award for the and it goes back to what I was saying. Once the criteria for winning an award is that you have to be up to date with all those requirements in terms of handing in your accounts, sending your minutes to show that you kept meetings, to show that you kept elections, all those things, and the activities that you planned as a cooperative. You must show that you have executed them. So they were they were the best for the past year. Also doing well in the past, I think they missed out on one or two areas of SPACs. That's the Sandy Point Agricultural Cooperative. They were represented last night as well. There is also one in Keon area called Amigo. There's Foy's Women, Foy's Women Cooperative, and of course we have some fishermen cooperatives as well. Right. So all in all, we have maybe about 10 going up into the teens in terms of cooperative societies. Not forgetting the School Apex Cooperative, because they will also encourage those to do a savings program in particular, encouraging thrift among the young students. And maybe I should say it quietly that when you add up all their money in the bank, it's maybe over $1 million that the children have in savings. Some challenges, of course, in that, especially when they leave primary school and they go to high school, they don't want to save as much because they want to spend the money on, you can name it. They move from thrift to spendthrift. Correct. And so that is what we are trying to do there, to encourage the high school students now, rather than to get the bling bling and the latest style and fashion and so on, and the hairdos and the weaves and all that, to continue to save. So that is a big movement among the cooperative society, something that the Department of Cooperatives is concentrating on right now, to encourage the older ones to save. In the primary schools have no problem, because every little thing they get, they want to bank it and save it. Good. They want to save their money and spend yours. That's the principle of primary school kids.
I was rather impressed with the Gideon cooperative.
Yes.
In fact, they spoke about how they were involved in the community. to their social programs and so on.
Yeah.
So they were really good corporate citizens
Yes.
in that sense.
By the very nature of some of the members, these are guys who are down to earth. I call them guys who are down to earth. They're very ingrained in the society. They're givish. They tend to give, the
Yes.
Ivy Pete's and the Sankofers and those guys. They're willing to share with you. Not only share their products, they share a lot of information as well. And they claim to be, or they're not claiming to be, I think they are trying their best to be organic as much as possible. So they don't try to use, or they don't use a lot of the fertilizers and chemicals and so on. They keep it very natural, like they say. Safely say they keep it very, very natural.
Okay. Now, what is the theme for this week? Co-op week.
You're putting a challenge on me. Sustainable consumption. Oh my God, I missed the rest of it. But I think the key word there was sustainable consumption. It's going to come back to me before the program ends.
Something with production.
Yes, we'll come back to it. But I know it's sustainable consumption. Those are the key words that we pulled out from the theme itself and focus on that, because everything must be sustainable. You can't just do it willy-nilly. You can't just take a lot now because you see a lot now, but you can consider what's going to happen in the future for the future generations, your children and the children.
Right. Okay, now monkeys. We jump to monkeys.
Oh.
Monkeys have been a real problem to farmers. What is being done or intended to be done by the ministry about this?
Thanks a lot for the question, Mr. Williams. And as I said, we'll probably talk until next week when it comes to monkeys, because that is my pet peeve, no pun intended. I've said it before and I'll say it again, that when I leave the seat, I want to be known as the monkey PS. I want to be known as the man who literally drove back the monkeys to where they really belong, in the forest. Let me give a bit of background before I say what we're into right now. We've had some assistance from people coming in. In fact, the first thing we did was to call a monkey summit. And in that summit, we brought together all the stakeholders who were involved in monkey business in some way or fashion. Following that, we had an anthropologist who was at the time working in St. Kitts to determine population studies. We really needed to know how many monkeys are in St. Kitts.
Yes.
Lo and behold, her initial assessment stands between 55,000 to 60,000 monkeys. That is horrific.
That is more than the population.
Even when we add citizens by investment, a few pups and dolls,
It is still more.
it is still more. Even if we bring back home some people from the diaspora, we just might be 1-to-1. Now, having said that, people tend to ask, what are you doing about the monkeys? Are you? Meaning agriculture. And I want to posit here today that the monkey problem has gone beyond agriculture. It is now a national problem. It is now a concern for every single citizen. Because with that type of population, coupled with the fact that during the 90s, from 1989 with Hugo, during the 90s with some lesser storms, 1998 George, 1999 Lenny, the forest has been devastated. Where they normally get their natural food from, it's no longer there. So they are coming down, and they will come down into the lower areas, and people have reported that in their house and kitchen and backyard. So
Yeah, they're in my backyard.
wonderful. So there you go.
And on my roof running up and down.
Wonderful. So therefore, Skin is supposed to have a monkey solution in their work plan for next year. Every single body on St. Kitts, I wanted to get involved in controlling that population of monkeys. Because I'll go further to say this, that if we could wake up one morning and the population of monkey is below economic threshold, agricultural production would increase by about 50 to 60% without any other effort. And I dare anybody to prove me incorrect. From a scientific point of view, from a practical point of view.
Has there been any assessment done in terms of loss, in terms of cost to farmers because of the monkey problem?
Most definitely. In fact, the studies from Dr. Kerry Doe, dealt with that. And she pointed out the types of crops that were favored by monkeys, the value of those crops, And in the areas where and times when you're more susceptible, practically around mating time and so on and so on, and the areas where you have mangoes coming in, the fruit and the thing, that's
Yes.
the time it's the damage lessens. So she has done the entire study in terms of when you're likely to get most damage and the value. I could give you one example that I used just quite recently, where a gentleman planted let's say about a 2-acre crop of onions, and the monkeys came and pulled up every single seedling that germinated. That's why I want you to understand the word every. Broken down, it can mean all. Going further, it mean none left.
Right.
None tall. That all you seen is everything pull up. The man literally cried. When I say cried, he bawled like a child. Tears, snot coming out his nose, down into his mouth. Because what that meant for him in terms of value, since you asked the question, that was about $40,000 gross.
His livelihood.
Some people make that in a year.
That's correct.
And that is the kind of value thing we're talking about. And so persons have literally run. But monkeys, when they run, they're not them, they're doing something else. Construction, fishing, cleaning people, anything else but to plant for monkey to eat.
So it is a deterrent to people who want to farm.
Oh yes. And it's that potential too that I'm not even able to quantify. Because there could be more than 50 people, if they hear that no monkeys in St. They're immediately going back to plant.
Right.
Immediately going back to the plant. And some of them are very good farmers.
Now, once ago, you never had so many monkeys down in the lowlands. They were more up in the mountains. What has caused this migration, if I have to say?
Well,
because they have migrated from,
I mentioned.
And how can we get them back there?
Wonderful. And this is what we're planning to do, what we're doing. In terms of the migration down, I alluded to a number of factors. One, the fact that their food source is much scarcer now. Two, the very sheer numbers, 60,000. They are very territorial.
Yes.
They don't all band together. They are troops. And when a troop dominates the area, another troop has to vacate. And if there are 60,000, it means that more and more they're gonna come down. And of course, they're always in the search for food. They don't plant, they don't cook. So they always have to find a way of survival. For them, it's survival.
And they're herbivores.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I'm not. Well,
do they eat meat or they just eat fruits and vegetables? I think they're herbivores.
I think they eat your cooked meat. If you leave a chicken there for them, they'll probably eat it.
Will they?
I suspect so. Yeah, I think.
But they're more herbivores than anything else.
Yes. But they're so curious and obstinate that I think if you leave a plate of food that has meat on it, they wouldn't just say, "Oh, I'm a herbivore, so I'm going to just eat your salad." They were going to eat the meat as well. So that is what is happening right now. In terms of dealing with them, I believe some things we can't mention on radio, but let us start with the things that we can.
Yes.
Barrier. That is putting a barrier in between the monkey and your crops. We have two such so far. One is an electrical fence. Working by and large. The strand of wire to the top of your fence, which doesn't allow the monkey to get in, is a live wire. Not enough to kill a human, but enough to give a very, very strong shock.
So it will warn them off.
It will keep them off. They don't like that at all. We've had one established in Tabernacle, studying the results. We have a farmer in Saddlers who has one, a farmer in Mansion the Mansion area who has one that seem to be working pretty hard already. So we have a few established and we're studying them. In terms of barrier as well, we also have what you call a monkey-proof house. The best way I can put it is almost like a gigantic fish pot. It's with fish pot wire, and just as you have the greenhouses with plastic and so on, rather than plastic, it's a mesh wire. But it's big enough for a tractor to go in with a huge gate. The tractor can go in and do its operations. So there's nothing else special about it other than it prevents the monkey itself from getting in.
Yes.
And it covers a certain square footage that one can make planting a crop or two really profitable. But you realize those two things involve some significant investment. And what we're trying to do now is to get the records to show once you've invested your money, the monkey can't get to you. then you stand a great chance of getting back your money and more.
Yes, but Mr. Edwards, those two methods that you mentioned are only to
keep them off.
To keep the monkeys off. But
Okay.
from what you've said, in terms of the population of monkeys, you want to reduce that population.
Okay.
So you know, reduction of the population.
Reduction of the population. Let's go to reduction now. One such is trapping. Over the years, we have some very excellent persons who are quite adept and skilled at studying the monkeys and being able to put traps in place that would catch them. At the moment, we have one person on payroll trapping monkeys. We are in the process of getting at least 3 more. And their job on payroll would be to catch monkeys. So, once you trap them, then we're talking about tree mutton.
Okay.
Trap, eat.
Okay. Kill and eat.
We have some guys in the studio.
You can't eat before you kill.
Right. You don't say kill. That's not a good word for the public. Cook.
How are you going to eat?
Don't worry about that. Cook and eat. Let's do a little survey about
Cook and eat.
Let's do a little survey about
Okay,
your producers
cook
to find
and
out
eat. Okay.
how many of them eat tree mutton. Anybody eating tree mutton over there? 1.5. That is not bad.
I've had it and it tasted good.
What? Okay, so I have 2 out of 5. Wonderful.
Only once.
Yeah. So trapping them and using them, that's an option. Our Eat Local Day, which is held just recently held, always have tree mutton there. I understand the churches, every time they have their food fair, Anglican and the Moravian and so on, they ask for the tree mutton. We also send some to Antigua when they're having the events as well. So we wish that this could be a more popular activity in that people seek out the tree mutton and bring down the population.
Right.
The other one that we can't mention too hard, and I trust that your radio program isn't reaching too far outside of St.
It reaches extremely far. It's worldwide.
It's worldwide. We don't have to couch it in the aspect of trying to protect our food and nutrition security. We've just spoken to Deputy Commissioner Brandy, Mr. Creeley is on board, and we asked for some assistance in terms of getting some weapons with the appropriate means to take out the pigs, the wild pigs, because we have a problem with pigs. And of course, if you didn't hear me say it before, monkeys will be on that list as well. Even if we do it like the Americans, we have an open season where we hunt them and then stop. But certainly, we cannot continue to allow 60,000 monkeys, 55 to 60,000 monkeys to just
Create havoc.
Multiply and reproduce. So, I can safely say you will not be hearing much more about that program. Not be hearing about it. Because I have great respect for the international community and their power, but I also have great respect for the need for us to protect ourselves.
Right. I know that they're using some of them at the biomedical
Yes.
research plant
Yes.
in Lower Borio.
Yes.
And some basically people, use them for tourism.
I don't
Touristic purposes and so on. The tourists like
yes.
that and so on.
I didn't say we can get rid of all, but if we
Right.
get it down to more than half of what's there now, or less than half of what's there now, then they could have a few, 20, 30 or so, to take their pictures and make a little money. I don't mind that. I mean, some other person might fawn in it and so on, but if that's their livelihood, fine. Then of course, we would want something for our wildlife.
Yes.
For instance, we've had I think I can divulge it now. I believe the man would have his idea patented, so nobody could just run to the idea and copy it. But he has the idea of trapping them and placing them in an area. The best I could describe it as akin to Jurassic Park. I think most people would have seen or heard about Jurassic Park.
Yes.
Large enclosure, no trees and so on close to the fencing. And the fence is live, not live enough to kill humans, but live enough to keep them contained inside there. And he also has ideas of doing little trails and rest stops and so on, and so that people, tourists, locals, can come and interact with them, because you'll be able to see them there in their natural habitat. Maybe feed them, maybe get a chance to feed them, but they're not caged. Just that they have a large enclosure. So that's an idea that I hope I'm promoting for the gentleman who came with the idea. and even by way of this warning, such that he could make sure he goes and
Right.
and patent his idea so that nobody will just get up and run with it, but rather than try to contact him and invest in that idea as well.
Sure.
So that's an idea we're actively working on.
No, part of the problem, we have to take blame for it because of poor ecosystem management,
Correct.
especially fruit trees and so on in the mountains, and the cutting down of trees and all of that sort of a thing have caused the monkeys to migrate. Because when I was growing up, when I was a young boy, if you see a monkey, you're so happy to see a monkey. Monkeys were in the mountains. Now they're in your backyard. They are looking for food. It means then that what has happened to the food in the mountains? The fruit trees, the forestation, and so on. So that is a part of the solution, I think. Proper ecosystem management.
I agree with you. That's why I fully agree with you. Maybe we should look back again. In the days when sugar was king, we had sugar cane from the high water mark of the seashore up to the foothills of the forest. But the SSMC or the NOC at the time, they employed rangers. Their job was to go and shoot and keep off the monkeys. So I believe those guys were very effective in keeping down the
The
population.
monkey population.
Added to that, there were, as you correctly said, fruit-bearing trees. Man support. What I used to call Swizzle sweet orange, I don't know if that's a word. Fat pork,
Yes.
strawberries, all sorts and shapes of mangoes, long salt, brown salt. In the wild, it meant that somebody must have planted them. And you talk about ecosystem management. We just left the planting back to the bodies. The family of bodies, you know them?
No.
You must know them, man. You know, somebody.
Oh,
anybody,
I see.
and nobody?
Okay.
And those
Yes.
three, you know, those 3 persons ain't gonna do it.
Yes.
So I am making a clarion call now. And as I said, the control of monkeys is not just for agriculture. We're asking for help. We're asking for help of persons like those involved in Rotaract, those in pathfinders in lions. All those persons who tend to like to adopt an area and plant a tree, adopt an area in the forest.
Right.
You will get a lot of support from other agencies. I'm almost certain of that. Something like this, we were able to get some money from the Environmental Fund if we were to put a nice project. So it's not just about agriculture and what are you doing. Everybody can get involved. And this is a means of keeping the monkeys at bay. Because once I get fruit-bearing trees close to where they live, they're not coming down. They're not
Yes.
coming down. They're not going to come down.
They have enough
They have enough.
to keep them where they are.
And I often say to people, like you, who say you used to go up there and eat man support. You never plant a man support tree. Yet,
I haven't seen one in a long time.
That's true. But you eat 10s and 20s of man support. So what if you plant back one? For all the man support you don't eat. What if you plant just one tree and take care of it so that somebody else could eat? Why do you think it has to be the Department of Agriculture with 20-something persons and staff?
Right.
Or the Ministry of Agriculture? It's now everybody's business, and any little thing that you can do to help in this situation, helping yourself.
Sure. Now, there can be no agriculture without an adequate supply of water for crops. We know that. What is being done to address this critical issue? Now, of course, we know we have the whole climate change, and now we're having less rainfall and droughts, and sometimes in some places there's flooding, which can be just as bad because that destroys crops as well.
Yep.
So what is being done to address this critical issue in terms of water supply for crops?
No, not just crops, but agriculture.
And livestock, and so on.
Without water, there is no agriculture. We've recognized that. But unfortunately, I could say unfortunately, in terms of water for agriculture, we're about number 4 on the priority list. And so we have had to fend for ourselves. Apart from depending on rainfall, which is what dictates a lot of the patterns of agriculture here in St. Kitts. Over the years, we've built 13 dams. I stand for slight correction, whether it's 12, 13 or 14, but my last recollection was 13 dams of 1 million gallon capacity. The next step is to ensure that those dams can hold their water and move the water from the dam onto the farms below them. So that is where we are right now. This is what happened, this is what we're doing.
Some irrigation system.
Irrigation system is the next step. But prior to that, many of the dams are leaking. And so we have to take a step back and ensure that these leaks are repaired. And it's rather sad to say that a number of these leaks are man-made, are caused by man, maliciously, willfully. So sometimes when you're trying to help others, you got a few who just pull you back. One step forward, two step back. Because in one instance or two instances I know that caused the leaks, people were trying to get rid of their dogs. And so they threw the dogs in the pond. And the dog wouldn't just say, oh, okay, you're killing me, I'm going to die.
He's a struggle.
He's going to struggle and scrabble, and in doing so, he damaged the lining. And so we now have to go to try to find the leak. But we've see the dog in the window and the water going down. In another instance, an entire piece of the liner was just cut off. Just cut. Somebody just cut it and gone with it.
Yeah.
So there's where we are right now in terms of what are we doing for the farmers, trying to ensure that we get the leaks plugged, and then the next stage is to get the irrigation equipment to lead the water from the dam into these farms. And so we know we will have areas when it's the drought time that we can concentrate on for production. During the time of rain, everybody on equal keel, but these areas where the dams are, we will be looking forward to production from those areas.
Okay. Now, one of the ministry's initiatives is that of shade houses or protected agriculture. What are some of the benefits of farming using shade houses? And what is the difference between a shade house and a greenhouse?
A greenhouse is the much more complicated one, where you would have all the fancy equipment feeding it and so on and so on. The shade house, as long as you get protection from the elements, is what you consider shade house. You got some protection from the weather,
the wind,
wind and
animals,
insects. Right, so it's maybe just a simpler form. This way you draw the fine line. The greenhouse connotates a lot more things. You got the misty blowers and this and that and so on and so on. But it's simple for you. The shade house is just the one for protection. You got the plastics where we reduce the sunlight, the wind speed, the mesh wire so insect pests don't get in. And that is what we call a shade house. So those
is that a measure towards keeping out the monkeys too?
That could be a measure as well. That could be a measure because of course it's totally enclosed, and you have a gate to the front where you're supposed to control your the soil contamination and pest contamination coming in when you wash your feet and so on and so on. So that could be a means of monkey control. Sorry, because the monkey cannot get in. So the advantage that you're asking about there is really to have production year round, because you should have no excuse, none whatsoever in terms of water and so on and so on. Water, other elements, other inputs that shouldn't prevent you from producing year round.
Okay. So that is being promoted.
Of course. We've had 38 greenhouses built on St. Kitts. And again, as you say, a number of them are not fully active. There are about 14 active. And since the hurricane, what we have done, we are beginning to restructure them in making them a bit more hurricane-proof or more tolerant to hurricanes, in that they could be dismantled quite easily. So that is what we are doing now. That's the work we're concentrating on now. IECA, I must pick them up here. They're the ones that are helping us with this program. We couldn't do everybody at first, but we did a few. We did about 5, and we're hoping that FAO and IACA would approve more money for us to the others. So the plastic would have on something like a wiggle wire, something like we call it a wiggle wire, because with one pull, like almost like a baby's diaper pin, you clip it out, and with one pull, everything comes down, and there's a base that would have the structures bolted in. So you go with your tools and unbolt that, and then everything can come flat. All you might stand to lose is the crop that's there during the hurricane, but certainly the value of those equipment, the plastic and the 2x4s and steel or whatever it is, you won't lose those, because you can put them flat, you can put them in a container, you put them in a warehouse, or cover them down, because it really won't have anything to latch on. So that is where we are going with that, to make sure that the houses that we have now are hurricane proof. Well, at least in a position where the hurricane won't damage them as much as just rip them up and throw them away.
Okay, now the public market in Bastille, and I understand that they are going to be reopening the public market in Sandy Point. Is that on Saturday?
Yes, it's like
as part of the week
of
of activities.
Yeah. Yes. Public market in Sandy Point, SPACs did a lot of work on it, the farmers group there, and so I know they will be involved. So as a part of Corp Week, I think I forgot that one.
Yes.
They're going to have a celebration there on Saturday to mark that event.
At 10 o'clock.
At 10 o'clock, correct. The one in Bastille.
Yeah, well, it is being underutilized. Let me finish. And farmers, by farmers selling their produce, and people selling their produce can be seen filling up the sidewalks elsewhere in the city.
Yes.
What are some of the challenges with respect to this, and what is being done or proposed about it?
We've had many challenges. Those on the sidewalk, I think they're steeped in the culture now of persons buying off the side of the road. So they've gotten accustomed to that, unfortunately, rather unfortunate. And so they feel that they're in a pole position, so that when people pass by, you have the stuff right there and they purchase. Now that is a problem for traffic. It's really a traffic problem, not so much so agriculture. We provide the facility for you to use. You don't come in and you choose to go and block up traffic and stay on the sidewalk. The police are the ones who are supposed to be really. I believe over the years they have I don't say allowed it, turned a blind eye to it, because it's very difficult to police. At the same time, there are a number of things that are said about the market, and we've done a lot of work on the market to try to bring it up to speed based on the comments that the people made. So for instance, the air-conditioned section of the meat section is working perfectly now. That wasn't before. What wasn't so before. We've painted it. We've replaced some galvanized. We've repaired some areas where the walls were cracking. We tried to get rid of some of the pigeons that were causing a nuisance there. Widened it so that traffic could come in. Before time that wasn't so. Your vehicles could come in and park and load off. So we've done a number of things to encourage them back into the market, but with very little success. What has been proposed, I know for a fact, my personal view, is that we need to get a new market for crops. I would suggest that the meat stays there and the market itself move. I would like to hear further debate on that, because that's just my personal view, Al Edwards' view. That is not a policy yet. We're going to put it as the next question. The only place I see at the moment is that area just next to Newtown Playfield. I know people in my ministry wouldn't fully agree with me, because it's too closely very sensitive Bastille aquifer, but with modern technology, I believe that could be taken care of. In the sense that you wouldn't damage the aquifer anymore. All you have to concern yourself about is the probably washrooms and so on for people, and you don't have to put soak away like old time. You use the modern thing where you go and take out whatever waste it is. So that's my humble view. We have become a society now where we don't no longer walk with our big caucus bag to the market to buy stuff. Most people are driving now. And that area is not encouraging for people to go across there to park up at mornings. In fact, the parking is also a nightmare across there. And so people tend to, even though the price in the market may be a little cheaper and the goods may be a little fresher, they don't want the headache of trying to find parking and so on. So they go to the supermarkets. And one of the reasons I suggested by Newtown as well, because over there is adequate, we can get adequate parking to go to a farmers or crops market. So that's just my suggestion. I believe I can throw it into the ring for debate, so that it can be fleshed out, feasibility, of course money. Another school of thought is to go up in the current position where the market is, put on a second floor, probably for parking, more space. Those are the thoughts and plans that I've heard bandied about. Naturally, both of them will involve millions of dollars. And
right. So you're talking about a traffic problem.
Yes.
Across by the market.
Correct. Not only a traffic by the market, but there's also a traffic problem where the vendors are.
Precisely.
Correct.
So right. Especially coming down there by KFC.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. That road there between KFC and Courts, that's a headache. Especially on a Friday and a Saturday.
Yeah.
You have to be so careful that you are not running over people, and that will be another problem.
Yep. You have to tiptoe down there in your car.
You have to tiptoe down there in your car. Especially that area. I mean, there are other areas, but that one is the mother of all areas. Yeah. I can tell you that.
I think there are three departments or three ministries that would have to come together to solve that.
And I think they had a meeting recently.
Yes.
But I don't know what the outcome of
neither
it.
me. I don't have any information with me.
Don't know if we're spinning top in mud. I don't know. But something has to be done.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, this might be a question that many people might have. Why do we have to be importing all this agricultural produce? The Dominica boat comes here every Monday. Don't you think we have the capability to produce enough agricultural products for our local market?
Let's go back to the first or the second thing you talked to me about. Monkey.
So it's a monkey problem.
It is a monkey problem. Because, as I told you, there are a number of persons who are refusing to go into agriculture because of this monkey problem. And I know for sure, I'm confident within my spirit, that once these people are aware that the monkey problem goes below economic level, they are going to come in and plant some of those very crops. So the land you see around, a lot of people saying land that is just lying idle. A lot of those plots of land have names to them. But these are people who are simply telling you, listen, I kind of like waiting, speculating how they would just plant a little thing because they are afraid of monkeys.
But is it only a monkey problem?
That's one part of it too. Okay, the second part of it is that we have to respect our trade partners. We are now more or less in agreement with OECS for trading of goods and services. So we really and truly can't make a fuss when the Dominica boat comes here. What I can say, in fairness to them, is that for certain commodities, they have the economic advantage in terms of planting, particularly Dominica. Prior to this hurricane, Dominica is a country with 265 rivers. And the plains of those rivers, very, very fertile soil. So all those yam, dashing and tanya that you see them bring here, very little effort, very little labor and effort going in that. They took anything by the thing when they come to go to business. When they come back, they harvest it. So they can afford, right? They can afford to grow things like that. No problem with rainfall, no problem with water, and bring them here cheaper than what the people in St. Kitts can go. Similarly, with planting and banana, those countries were steeped in doing those type of production. So they have the advantage in those areas. I always count it as the root crops, planting and banana. Maybe citrus to that extent as well. But we know we have an advantage on a number of other commodities. Because of their water, their pumpkins never taste as good as St. Kitts orange nice pumpkin.
They're watery.
Their sweet potato, it's so sweet. And so these are the things we have to think about in terms of how do we get back those type of commodities back to Dominica. We did white potato sometime, we did onion sometimes, and at one point exported to Dominica. So we have to look for opportunities. Wherever people think there are challenges, we have to look for opportunities. But a number of persons are not latching on to that. They're mainly thinking about the local market. So sometimes we have to try to enlarge in their vision.
Yes.
How can I get into the Dominica market? They can't stop us. We can't stop them from coming here. They can't stop them from going there.
True.
Comes back to a point that I've always made, and I've made the call. I was criticized for maybe making the point too subtly, that from St. Kitts Nevis, the private sector, or the government, or private sector and government, need to invest in a multi-purpose vessel. A vessel that can carry produce as well as people. And those islands that are so close to us, St. Martin, that we can see, Statia, that we can throw a stone on, Sable, Anguilla by extension, Antigua, you can see Antigua too. And probably the furthest in our first tier would be Dominica. So we have islands around us that can be serviced by what I consider a fast ferry. If you don't have enough people, carry produce. If you don't have produce, carry people. And
Good.
I've been saying that. I haven't got much traction in it yet, but I threw it out to, it was the Growth Conference over at Frigate Bay. A number of persons, I think they took notes and they mumbled a few things. And I was criticized because I don't think I made the point clearly to say,
But
I want a boat.
yeah, but are we producing? P.S. Are we producing enough to export? That is my question.
Let me get rid of the monkeys.
We are not producing enough to export,
Let's
and
get
that
rid
is
of-
why
let's get rid of the monkeys.
we are importing
Let's get
more
rid-
agricultural produce
Let's get rid of the monkeys.
than we are producing here.
Let's get rid of the monkeys. I'm sticking to my point. I'm a monkey PS. I want to get rid of the monkeys.
Our food bill is basically very, very high.
Yes, but a lot of that come from processed meats though as well. Meat and processed meats. Not so much so the agricultural produce. Because even despite the rough conditions of drought and monkeys, we're doing fairly well in terms of production.
Okay.
Those who are die-hard farmers, those who barley eyes out one morning from the
Right.
monkeys and go back and plant. We're doing over 1 point something metric tons of production.
So that leads me into think. Apart from the marketing
Yeah,
on a Saturday and a Friday,
yeah,
what about the partnering with hotels,
yeah.
restaurants, supermarkets, and so on in marketing the produce, selling the produce?
That has been going well. I don't want to say very well, but well. For instance, Park Hyatt gets a lot of stuff through the Department of Agriculture, who coordinate with farmers. Marriott does a little bit. The other local smaller hotels and restaurants, they too are involved in buying local stuff. Last night at the dinner, I think you missed it. Breadfruit was on the menu. I felt very, very proud.
Yes, I didn't have any. I left
So
before.
it's not the first time I've gone to a restaurant and I see that they are now utilizing the breadfruit and making an attempt to use local products. I know for sure Timothy Beach has more or less a contract with one guy, more or less a middleman who provides them on a regular basis stuff. So there's that link. Mind you, it could be better. It could be much better. On both sides. The commitment from the hotels. I can use Marriott for example. They're not really, in my mind, my humble opinion, fully committed to the cause. But Park Hyatt has come on with a different attitude. And so it's telling us those are the type of hotels that we should attract. The restaurants, I think they're making an effort, buoyed by this, where they get a little discount or something when you show that you're buying local produce.
Right.
I think, relief. So it's
And
work.
I think Restaurant Week
Yes,
is an initiative to promote that as well.
correct,
Local.
correct, very correct. We use Eat Local Day, which is repeated. Restaurant Week coming up sometime soon.
And we no longer have Simaco.
We no longer have Simaco.
Remember, Simaco used to sell a lot of local produce
Correct.
and so on.
Correct. But there's only the main problem with Simaco is that it did not have control over the local produce, and so farmers sold to other supermarkets.
Okay.
So once you sell to other supermarkets, you're no longer a central marketing corporation. You're just a byline. The idea that we've seen internationally is that all the farmers would sell to one central market corporation, and then the other persons, the hotel, the supermarkets, the restaurants, will come there to buy. But from the time you get the farmers and sell you 20 pounds and then sell rams and, sorry not to call the name, the other supermarkets, the items, then there's no need to go to the centrals.
Right.
And from the time that broke down, it would have been, it spelled disaster for some place like Simaco. In days gone by, what they did, Simaco, even before the farmers could get to the market, they would send out their jeeps and so on to collect the produce at the farmer's gate.
Right.
When farmers grew up and so on and got their own pickup and trucks and so on, then they grab the produce and sell, try to get a higher dollar by the various places, whether it's in the village or by the supermarkets.
Now, what can be done to attract more people, and in particular young people, to be farmers? I know that, for example, at the CFBC, there's an agricultural program. And I think there's a business component to that program as well, agribusiness. So,
well, I would want to touch on two or three areas that I believe could attract young people. We spoke about shade house, greenhouse. That to me, to use the terminology, a bit more sexy.
Some people don't want to dirty their hands, you know. Sometimes
in greenhouses, you don't have to dirty your hands. Right? Once you set up your structure, you can use peat moss, some inert material, grow bags. You put the seed or the growing material in grow bags. That's not dirt. So you don't really touching the dirt. When you do that everything comes off. And it comes up at a height where you don't have to bend over. It's not really back breaking, and you have your fancy shade house there. You could look like a top class scientist, cover the experiments, grow your food and so on. So to me, the shade house or protected agriculture is an area that's good enough to attract them. Also hydroponics, you see you mentioned the same.
And aquaponics.
Aquaponics and hydroponics, yeah. Also aquaculture, growing of fish on land or even on sea. That's not so much back-breaking hard work. You get your fingerlings, you get your correct medium for feeding them. So it's almost like you're feeding fish home in your aquarium. But it's in a larger area where the fish grow up, and ever so often, 6 months, you pull out a couple tons of fish. Those are the areas in my mind, in terms of the hardcore upfront agriculture, that could attract young people to them, because the science is involved already. So if they're techie people, they'll be glad to see what they can do. They'll be happy to find out the results they could have in a shade house or a greenhouse. They can produce that they're seeing. They could try things like colored peppers and dual colored peppers, strange colored things, fruits, and all kind of things. Potential, immense potential. Lettuce. Where they could get the lettuce folded under Senkis conditions. There's always something in agriculture that will challenge a young mind once they're keen. And once they have the money to invest, they'll get tremendous returns.
Right. And it is my understanding that there is a $2 million loan for agriculture in the development bank.
I thought we'd have started with that.
For farmers.
I thought we'd have started with that. Because farmers like to hear about money. And better yet, part of it is a grant. 500,000, I think, is in grant money. Grant farm. Means that they don't have to pay back. The ceiling is $10,000. And there's certain criteria. You must be a registered farmer. Not only registered, you must be current. Since I got to this seat, we've been encouraging farmers to register. We've made the registration fees almost like a pittance. Nobody pays more than $500, and that's for over 15 acres of land that you're allowed to use. And we want them to understand the importance of registering and having a relationship with the agriculture department. A lot of the times we need data. We need to know the numbers of farmers are there. We need to know what you're planting. It is important. You're talking about import and export. We talk about WTO. and banning things and restricting the market. They're the same people who crying out like that. They don't want to register the department. But the only way we can protect them is through numbers. We must be able to prove on our books that, listen, in St. Kitts Nevis, we have 85 pig farmers who are growing pork, and this is affecting their families, and the average family size is about, let's say, 4 persons, and this is the kind of argument that we have to use to WTO.
Yeah.
And it's for,
And in
for the
terms of
life of
getting
me,
assistance as
correct.
well.
And for the life of me, they cannot seem to understand that, and we need those numbers.
Yes.
So this is a sort of incentive, maybe in reverse, to encourage them to register with the Department of Agriculture. Let us know what you're doing. And we're not saying it's for tax purposes. In this case now, you're getting grants, you're getting low interest loans. The first thing that comes to mind, you want the information because a tax. We're not taxing farmers now. We want farmers to produce. We're incentivizing them to produce.
Yes.
The 1.5 million is trying to aim at another challenge in agriculture. This is what we're doing now to relieve that. It has to do with land preparation.
Yes.
The land preparation has always been a challenge. Demand greater than supply. The tractors, they tend to break down pretty often. And so for the years, we're always behind the 8 ball in terms of making sure that the lands for the farmers are prepared on time so they could take advantage of the market and whatever else there is. And so we want to move over now the main service to private sector. Let the private sector, the farmers themselves even, or farmer groups themselves even, control the land prep. And we at the Department of Agriculture, Ministry of Agriculture, will be the backup. So we want to wrestle that around. Not Department of Agriculture being the main thing. I don't want to say we failed, but we've never really fully succeeded in preparing all the land, all the demands at the same time. So don't wait on the agriculture. Go to the private sector. And when you can't get through, then you come to see if we could help you out. And what we're doing in that area, we've had some tractors that were down with a particular problem. I think it's a computer problem. Just over the music festival weekend, we brought in a specialist to look at them. 2 John Deere tractors. There's also one in Nevis giving a problem. We suspect it's a similar problem in all 3 of them. And I haven't got the report as yet, but he has gone back now, and he's supposed to come back with equipment to repair those tractors. So we're hoping that they're fairly new. So once they're up and running, we'll get good use from them. So 2 on St. Kitts, 1 on Nevis. So those will be part of our backup fleet. So we're preparing ourselves as backup. At the same time, we've strongly recommended to Ministry of Finance to provide duty-free. Anybody come with anything that says tractor, we sign quickly.
Okay.
And encourage them. Tractor and tractor implements. Because we believe that this is the area that we want to focus on. Push that over to private sector. Let us be the backup. And that in itself would add to timely land preparation and getting more crops into the market on a timely basis as well. And of course, you know that you can get timing is almost everything. To get in a crop to come in just at the time of music festival is much better than after music festival, or just before the Christmas period. It's much better than January. So there are peaks and troughs and so on in the marketing business. So we want to focus on that.
You know, agriculture is, Mr. Edwards, it is extremely important. So important that the United Nations in its SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, it is goal 2. It is goal 2. That is to show you how far up it is. It is goal 2 and ending hunger, achieving food security, improved nutrition, and promoting sustainable agriculture. That is how important agriculture is. That the United Nations is saying, look, this is so important. We have to focus on this.
I don't disagree with that.
Employment for people, livelihood, nutrition, talking about people's health and so on, food security, and sustainable agriculture, we have to think of the fact that you speak about the monkeys. We're in a hurricane zone. There's a threat every year that your crops can be wiped out.
Correct.
You know? We talk about the droughts, less rainfall. We talk about, sometimes overfishing. Does the agricultural department have a sustainable agricultural policy?
The answer to that is rezoning, yes. There is a strategic plan from the Ministry of Agriculture, 2017 to 2021. This followed up on one that we had that ended in 2016. And it speaks to all of these things. It takes into consideration the acronym FNS, which is Food and Nutrition Security. That's a component, that's a pillar inside there, where we have to look and focus on those areas. We've had a project in the parks called Farm to Fork. And St. Kitts, I dare say, was the most successful Caribbean country of the three that took it on as a pilot project. And because of that, another institution is coming back to continue work on it. It involves three ministries: Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Agriculture. And as we talk about nutrition, it is looking at things like obesity in children, the spread of the non-communicable diseases that we somehow talk about. According to the minister, we feel proud about, but we shouldn't feel proud because we are the adults who should be are the ones responsible for bringing us into that situation where you have children with diabetes and high blood pressure and that kind of thing. So the program aims to try to change around the taste buds and the appetite of the young kids to get more of the healthy foods and less of the non-healthy foods to them. So it's a battle, we know. The international agencies, in fact, Dr. Thelma Philip Brown was very influential in this aspect. We had a meeting recently. They're going to have a stakeholder meeting sometime in St. Kitts. People from St. Vincent coming up. St. Vincent is another country, and Jamaica, in which the program is going to be continued.
Yes.
So this is the drive that we are working on. The program is called Working for You.
Working for you.
But this year we were working for particularly the kids of the country.
Yeah.
So we're looking at the healthy foods. Education is going to try to ensure that the food that we grow is channeled through the school meals, and from the school meals the kids would eat it. And health would want to measure any changes and so on in the health of the kids.
And local produce as opposed to
local produce. That's where agriculture comes in.
Right.
That's where agriculture comes in. And I gave the commitment
to the processed stuff.
Not so much processed.
Chemical laden stuff.
Well, of course, we don't have chemical laden stuff and things. We don't go chemical laden stuff. And I could put a plug for our lab that tests our produce so far for chemical and pesticide residues, and so far we have about 99% record of residue free. So we could speak safely for our produce. Can't speak safely for what's coming in.
Right.
So that is the aim there to I think it's going to be in pilot schools at first. But if that could be continued nationwide, I say nationwide, or federation-wide, we'll be ever so happy. Because they talk about obesity, and I think we're seeing it in kids. And that's sad.
Do you think there's enough investment in agriculture?
That's a tough question.
And not only from the public sector, but the private sector.
I don't think so. Honestly, I don't think so. Having said that, though, I certainly believe that there are other ways and means of getting funding. We just cannot sit down and say, because I know, I mean, St. Kitts Nevis, we are a small country.
Yes.
The pie is going to be small.
Right. So you have international
can't,
cooperation.
Correct. You can't expect to get a big slice from a small pie. Your slice will be small. Now I said that to say, all the money now is in environment. That's where most of the, I don't say all the money, most of the money is environment, climate change. So it's climate change and everything.
Yes.
So we have now a component, climate change and agriculture. How is climate change affecting agriculture? And in my mind, we have to be smart now. Work smart, not hard. Tweak our programs to put in everything in climate change.
Yes.
Anything at all you mentioned, find a way to bring in, weave in climate change to attract more funding to get these projects done. In fact, IECA is helping us with that right now. We're putting a project together for those same retrofitting of those greenhouses. So there we use the word, we retrofitting the greenhouses to prevent hurricane damage.
Right.
So that is what we weave in that.
Right.
We look at it from a hurricane standpoint, an environmental standpoint. Fixing greenhouses. Where are we going to go in the greenhouse? Food.
That's right.
So that project right now is being worked on. We had a meeting last week. We had people from Sustainable Development there, Agriculture, and CADI and IECA helping us to work on that. So this is where we'll get some of the money from those international agencies.
Okay.
So we have, as I said before, we have to work smart. So where the shortfall comes in because we simply don't have it, we have to divide the whole pie for national security, Ministry of Education, health can want some, and so on. But
so the private sector can do more.
I would, yeah, definitely want the private sector. And I think this was the call, this was the purpose behind the growth forum. It's going to continue, and so the message that's coming from the Ministry of Agriculture. Here's what we're doing, guys. How can you latch on? How can you jump and help us? And I'm making one big shout. Private sector, please invest in a boat. Please invest in a boat, and of course, do your part with the monkeys. That's my call to them.
Okay,
Help me get rid of the monkeys. Give me a boat.
We have to go to the phone lines.
No problem.
So we'll hear what the people have to say. A lot of farmers probably are listening and so on. So the numbers to call are 1-718-577-2916. That's the international number, the overseas number, and the local number is 465-2555. We await your calls. No one is on the line yet, so we'll continue our discussion. Now, what are some of the spin-offs from agriculture? I know you have agro-processing and
But I'm very glad you mentioned. Oh, you have a caller?
there's a caller. Working for you, good afternoon. Good afternoon, working for you. Working for you, hello?
Yeah, good afternoon, sir.
Good
I was
afternoon.
just wondering about the monkey problem. What was the guy doing about maybe catching them and selling them? That's one question I just wanted to ask.
Okay, the monkey problem.
Yeah.
So I won my bet with myself.
Yes.
That the first comment will be something on monkeys. Earlier in the program, we spoke about a number of efforts that we're doing with the monkeys. I mentioned that we have at least one person on payroll involved in trapping monkeys. And once they're trapped, we certainly intend to provide those persons who are keen to get trim, as we call it, onto the plates, pots, plates, and pallets of the persons around us. So far, he's not doing too bad. He's caught a few, and we are aiming to get more persons on to trap in particular areas.
Working for you, good afternoon.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Mr. Williams and Mr. Edwards.
Good afternoon.
Now, this monkey business has been around for years. Past administration and no administration. And I have been telling them, let me turn this radio down, it almost off and it's still echoing. Okay. I have been saying to them, we don't have any war around here. And rather than having the soldiers them up there sitting down and just waiting for something to happen, for the go to help, which is needed, and going over to Canada, go target practice on a stationary target. Why they don't give the soldiers them the opportunity to go and target on the moving target? clean them up, eliminate the monkey them. Because it doesn't matter what you do. Unless we don't eliminate the monkey population, we ain't going forward. We trashing back. But nobody listening to me. Like you said, Mr. Edwards and Mr. Williams, years ago we had mountain rangers, and the mountain rangers had to buy clothes the same color the monkey skin to go up in the mountain to attract the monkey to come close. But now look at them, look what they be. All bamboo stop and standing up by lampposts reading the voters list so you come let the one go vote. We have to get them, eliminate them monkey, otherwise everything is a waste. You can't even plant nothing in your backyard because you can't put no electrical thing in your yard because you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
so, boy, idea is that let them use the army man them to thin them out. That's the best target practice they could get. Moving target, not stationary target. Thank you for listening.
Well, thank you to one.
Working for you, good afternoon.
Yeah, hello, good afternoon.
Yes,
Hello?
good afternoon. We're hearing you.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
I don't want to sound controversial, but Mr. Edwards seems to be coming back and telling us the same thing year after year about the monkeys. You talk about setting something to make sound and all them kind of thing there. Monkeys know to get around those things. Only one thing to happen about you are going to listen to me because I'm a layman. They come from Cuba with no doctorate and all them foolishness just to control some things. All we all want to do is to plant fruit trees up in the forest. That's all they want. The estates used to do it and used to work. Then they were only used to plant sugar cane. During the time they used to plant sugar. They used to plant a lot of food crops. Yams, potatoes, cassava, you name it. And the monkey used to eat some, but they never eat all. But no monkey was down in the villages and downtown. So with this natural crisis we say beyond agriculture, you have to get help. We plant the gut side them up, where them lot of mango used to come from. I'm repeating myself because saying it over and over and I ain't gonna stop and tell you all do something.
Okay.
Wait, before you answer me, you say you planted some cane somewhere up in the cane area for monkey to eat. Monkey don't eat cane, you know, but monkey only eat cane once in a while. They'll rip out the heart or the upper part, the highest part of the cane, they'll eat that.
Yeah.
But they want that too often because cane used to be planted right on the edge of the forest and they used to come to fruition. I'll stop for now. You ain't want to hunt that hunting with no gun and so because people go up there go regale and other things and may want to hear nobody get shot.
No, nobody gonna get shot because what we aim to do is to do it in.
Okay, thank you.
No, I said that because somebody mentioned something about get soldiers to go up there, which is foolishness.
No, nothing is foolish. Not idea is foolish when it comes
No,
to trying
it
to
is
control.
foolish.
No.
I know people get shot in the mountain by mistake.
Right.
When they go look monkey, and it happen.
Right. So we want to try to prevent that. So you learn from your mistake, and we do it the proper way this time. But it's not saying the same thing year after year. We've tried different things. We tried the thing with the sound. It ain't working. We come back with something else. And I agree with you. You talk about the planting of the fruit trees. What I have to ask you, what I said earlier. Would you help us in planting the fruit trees?
No, me ain't no none. A lot of SIDF money knocking around.
Oh, okay.
Foolishness.
All right, okay,
so
all right.
Wait.
No,
Hold on,
you answer me. You said no, you're not going to help. Thanks very much.
No, but I'm telling you the reason why. You have to go to FAO, and FAO could help you out fund the project there. Aisha.
Okay.
Have a good day, sir.
Okay. Working for you, good afternoon.
Working for you. Bless why.
Yes, John Dow.
How are
Good
you?
day. I'm very well, thanks.
Nice to see that the gentleman in agriculture have come where he should be a long time.
Okay.
See? The agriculture department must engage the farmers them. I would like to see the agriculture department posting voices, just like the culture department. These things should happen. And my good friend down there in Challengers is right. We need to plant food. We need to put in a crop of peanut. It's true. Monkeys don't like to hear bullets. You must shoot them off. Shoot them in the ear. Give certain monkeys, give certain farmers a gun. Because when they hear the noise, it tore them, it make them run. And these are things we got to do. The question of the market, that ain't answered properly, you know. Because we can't allow these people on the road to messing up where we got coming in the next 18 months. We can't got a market down there for vendors and everybody on the road selling. All who selling provision go down in the market. And don't come telling me about it's no police, nothing. The agriculture should be able to give clearly direction. Because if you had Robert Ratcher, that's how it used to be. And it will be. Come on, Al. We got people come here selling and doing as they like. I don't know what custom look like they only to do with weed. People bringing in products where the local farmers them bringing in, fruits where the local farmer them producing and then them selling in the market and nobody saying none to them. These things must work on and deal with properly. Going forward in the agriculture department, the agriculture department is dormant. All you need to come to us. Come in a program style. Come to us. Have a good day, that's why.
Okay, jam down. Take care. Working for you, good afternoon.
Yeah. We are looking for solutions to our problems. And to solve the problem is supposed to start with me. And then you, and then it spread out and everybody help. Now, the caller say, once ago, they used to get mango tree and all kind of fruit tree up in the hills up there, where the monkey them had food to eat. And what we need to do is to plant them back. And you ask the caller if you can plant, and he said no. So that ain't foolishness. Who's supposed to do it? You start with me, and then it spread out. That's enough. Thank you very much.
Okay. Good. Al, maybe you can...
Your next one. Another caller?
Working for you, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Miguel Fleming. I'm calling from Taiwan.
Oh.
And yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
All the way around
so
the world.
Sorry?
Go ahead, we're hearing you.
Oh, yeah. So my question is, I think I was wondering why we are testing only our produce so far and not the imported food. Because this has always been a concern for me, because there are so many things that are prohibited all over the world, but I think that some of it are probably passing in St. Kitts and Nevis. And another thing is, I think earlier Al mentioned that he thinks that we should separate the meat, right, from the crops, right, at the market, if I'm correct?
Correct.
Yeah. But I was wondering, I'm not sure if that would be a good idea because especially if some persons may not want to go from here to there and go here to there. And also, I think that we can reduce the imports of food, but the process is not, the problem is not only because of the monkeys. I think that people don't produce enough. They just produce little, so they want to sell it expensive. And there's no consistency and all these different type of things. So it's not, I know the monkey is a problem as well, and also about the greenhouse, right? When it comes to the shade house, the net houses, I think that's going to be very difficult to keep out the monkey, because monkeys are so smart and they can easily tear the net and stuff. So I think that like polycarbonate and glass greenhouse is a good way to go. But as you may know, it is quite expensive to do that as well. And my final comment is, I think that we need to do more research in our environment. In terms of is not in crop production and how we can improve things in terms of agriculture in St. Kitts and Nevis, because I don't feel like we do enough in terms of research. For example, like in Taiwan, there's a lot of research going on here, and that's why they're leading. They're one of the best in agriculture around the world because they do a lot of research, and I think that we need to do the same as well in St. Kitts and Nevis. So that's all for now.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure.
Right. Okay, Al, you want to answer to some of those things?
Well, I said I had a bet myself that the first comment would be about monkeys. And
yes,
all the comments.
Most of them were about monkeys.
Okay, I just want to touch a bit on what Jamna was saying, and just to reassure him that yes, the Department of Agriculture has a plan. Yes, the Department of Agriculture has a program. I'm not too sure if he's fair with it, because we have always discussed with farmers, we always plan with farmers each year. Probably the Department of Agriculture is the only department that has an annual review and planning meeting where we invite farmers in to share their comments and have their input on what we aim to do, what we did, and what is going on. And that happens in February of every single year so far. We call it the review and planning meeting. So the farmers are aware of it. The money in the bank, I could safely say that came from consultation with groups of farmers. It was a Sunday. We brought in farmers from about 4 or 5 different cooperative groups. And that was one of the ideas. I even jokingly said to them, I want to steal that idea and make it my own. That we should put money in the bank at low interest rates so that farmers, especially those who are businessmen, could go and get their things done. Twinned with that was the idea of the grant. So it's not that we don't have a plan. It's not that we don't consult with farmers. Yes, we do. And maybe you're right in that, but we don't come in the ear enough to advocate and to advertise and to say what we're doing. But the farmers out there would know that. I could call the name of the person, of the farmer who came up with the idea that, hey, this is one thing you should go. Even the idea of the tractors, again, came up out of the discussion with farmers. They're saying, I belong to see the day when the agriculture department could give up land prep and leave it in the hands of the private sector. That was the idea from the farmer. We tacked on, well, no, we can't just leave it in the hands of the private sector. We have to provide the backup. So I can go on and on and on of instances where we consult and discuss with the people. He talked about the market, but obviously I don't think the head of the Department of Agriculture could boss around Top Cap Queely. And we can't tell him what to do. The whole idea again is open discussion and dialogue on the issue with the traffic. So when you do things like that, when you do things that involve anything punitive, you want to make sure that you're doing the right thing on the side of the law. We're quite aware that sometimes you try to correct things and people end up suing you. Alright, you catch a man in your house and you deal with him, the next thing you're in court for excessive force. So that is the, I just as an example to say that when we do things, we have to make sure we go back to the law books to make sure that these are the person responsible, these are the person supposed to be leading in that. We don't have authority, an extension officer, agricultural officer don't have authority to take upon anybody thing if they find them in a traffic position where they shouldn't be or on the road. We don't have that authority, so we have to go to them and discuss with them. We can't boss around quickly. Coming on to Miggy, my good friend over there in Taiwan. The part of separating the meat from the produce again has a lot to do with health, cross-contamination. Those are kind of things you would hear bandied about as arguments, strong arguments that you shouldn't have meat, especially raw meat, cut in raw meats with blood, and have it close to, or even the potential for contaminating things that you would pop into your mouth. Like sometimes a tomato, somebody just pick up a tomato and eat it, even without going it home or even washing it, just rub it in your shirt and this tomato looks nice, they eat it. So that is from the perspective on which I'm coming from, and at the same time not making the market in the current state totally useless, so it's at least being used for something. That's just, as I said, that's just my suggestion, but I'm putting forward my reasons why I'm saying that. And of course I would agree with you that on a whole, not just St. Kitts Nevis, the Caribbean, we don't get involved in too much research. We've all been criticized for data, where we do, or even if we do the research, the whole processing of it and documenting the data is not done well. Because I know that Cardi in the Caribbean has done a lot of work on sweet potato, but to find that data now is rather difficult. Some people tend to maybe just hold it close to them as scientific results, or they post it in Cardi and it's put on a shelf, whereas in other countries, you would have heard about it in all shapes and fashion. Be it a documentary on TV to say, oh, this scientist came in and did that, and that was a study and so on. And you could go into a TV station and pull down the documentary on TV, or you could see a book with it. And so we've done some work. In my mind, I agree with you, not enough. But still, we have not done a good job at documenting it, collating it for retrieval and replay.
Okay, now we're out of time. We have about 5 minutes left. But 3 questions, if you could knock them off.
No problem.
Training workshop for farmers. Second one, what have been, would you say, are some of the major challenges that the agricultural department face? I mean, we touched on some. The monkey probably is one of the biggest one. And what have been some of the successes?
Training workshop for farmers. Yes, those come through. Not maybe fast enough. Not enough. We see. But we do. I mean, overseas. We don't have enough overseas. But in some instances, I think we have too many.
Yeah.
Locally, and so we see sometimes some fatigue in farmers in that we're always calling them for some sort of training. Not only farmers but also agro-processors as well. So that's ongoing. That's always a part of it. How well they respond is something else. It's a different story. So yes, that's there. If I deal with that quickly, the overseas ones, once or twice we've had farmers going overseas to represent St. Kitts Nevis. Again, it comes back to the whole cooperative movement. How do you select a farmer? The international,
and if they're not registered with the department.
Was yet. The international agencies always prefer to use farmers from a cooperative. So the person who goes would go back and at least divulge information. He's duty bound to divulge the information he got to at least 15 other farmers. If it's an individual farmer who's not a part of a group, who's just an individual out there, he goes, he gets the information, he comes back, the information services himself. And so a lot of the times they send for persons who are capable of, I would call it train the trainers. So you get the information, and part of your mandate is to come back and train other people. And in that way they feel you're getting a bit more value for your money. Major challenges, I think we touched on them and what we're doing, so I could just hammer them again. Monkey. That's just my humble view. But
and
it's the monkey, water, land prep.
Yeah.
By successes, we didn't get a chance to discuss it, but I'm very, very passionate about agro-processing. My numbers have gone up now to 45 products. 45 products from the agro-processing unit. It was supposed to be a demonstration unit, but we were blessed with the person, a lady by the name of Mrs. Morton, who was a very inquisitive scientist. And she tries things, experiments, and do things with all sorts of jams, jellies, juices. The last thing she's doing is a pure cane juice. They have cane juice with the additives to make sure it lasts on the shelf. But this one is a pure cane juice, and she's gonna, I think she sends it in a frozen state. So you're getting almost like frozen joy with cane juice. But apart from that, there are chips, jams, jellies, flour. The flour from the root crops, flour from cassava, flour from sweet potato, flour from pumpkin.
Plantain.
Plantain. 45 products to tell me, and that to me is an area of success that we need to boast about. And the part of the reason, agro-processing in my mind is our avenue for marketing. I believe it's difficult, it will continue to be difficult to push and continue to push primary products, fresh products in the state, because you have to treat them so gingerly when you're transporting them. And sometimes we can't afford plane. They may have to go on boat and sea, and they can't take that boat. But when you have guava cheese, ham and jam, cane juice, plantain chips, they could last quite a long while and target our niche markets out there. The people who will want to stick their finger into the tam and jam that they missed for so many years, we have plenty of them overseas.
Yes.
And once we get those niche markets, I'm almost certain they'll pay anything for it. Lord, will last us tam and jam?
A long time. Well,
so that is the area of success for me. And of course, we're going to need some support from the production side. So it comes back again to making sure that we can have sustainable production.
Right. Well, Al, I want to thank you so much for being on today's program. It's been a long time. I've been asking, and people want to hear what is happening in such a critical industry in the country, that of agriculture, which speaks to our food security, our nutrition, and all of that. So thank you so much for coming and being on our program today.
You're welcome.
All right, great. You have been listening to another edition of working for you. I want to thank all of our listeners to today's program, all of you who called in and were so passionate about agriculture and what can be done to improve the agricultural sector. Next week we'll be back with another Working for You program. I am your host, Les Roy Williams. Until then, take care. Stay up to date with news, programs, and activities of the government with SKNIS. Like us on Facebook. Listen to us on SoundCloud. Follow us on Twitter. And watch our videos on YouTube. Connect with us today. SKNIS, St. Kitts and Nevis Information Service.